In conversation with Nick Huff Barili.
How's everyone doing today? Mic check, mic check. I'm sure most of you are familiar with René, Residente from Calle, but in case some of you aren't, he's won 25 Grammys so far. I'm sure there'll be some more on the way. Toured and sold out stadiums worldwide. He has presidents from Latin America calling him to get his opinions on things. But what I admire most about him is that he uses his platform to be the voice for a lot of people who don't get to be heard. So thank you for that, and thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you.
You just premiered your documentary at South by Southwest on Saturday. You have an album that's about to come out. But before we even get into all that, I'd love for you to take it back a little bit to your early days and just kind of give us a picture of what your childhood was like growing up. Like, what was your household like?
Well, first of all, thanks for being here. It's a pleasure for me being here also. Well, I grew up in Puerto Rico in a town called Trujillo Alto in front of a lake. It was far away from the city. Well, not that far away because it's an island and everything is close, but I thought it was far away. I used to play baseball when I was a kid. I love baseball. Everyone in the Caribbean likes baseball, like Cubans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. So I grew up there. My mom is an actress, not well known. She's an actress, like theater actress. And she's very socially active. And my dad also is a lawyer for the workers. So I grew up with my mom, low middle class kind of a scene in front of a baseball park. I used to play baseball all the time, but it was like a kind of a hard place. Like I had a lot of friends who died because it was a little bit violent there. And I started to write when I was like 11. And I started to write short stories and a little bit of rap because there's a rapper in Puerto Rico at that time his name is Vico. He was like the one rapper, you know, like if you want to be a rapper, you follow him. He was talking about what's happening on the streets, you know, in Puerto Rico. It was pretty hardcore at that time. And then I started to study, I started to draw too because I like drawing. So I went to an art school and I studied art for 8 years. My master, I had a fellowship. I don't know how you call it, maybe like they paid. Yeah, scholarship. Yeah, they paid for my studies because of my portfolio. So I was able to go to study in Savannah, in Georgia. So I studied there for 3 years.
Tell me what that was like. I mean, you're coming from Puerto Rico to Georgia. What was like your first impression of the U.S.?
It was a pretty place, you know. For me, it was difficult. Like I couldn't understand a lot. Like I didn't speak English like now. Like, well, I still suck, but I...
He's pretty good, right? You can understand what he's saying. Yeah.
But over there, I couldn't speak English. Like I remember going to Subway and I had to tell them like, what do you want and everything. And then I took out the things that I didn't like because I didn't know how to say banana peppers or stuff like that. So yeah, I couldn't understand a lot of things, you know, only visually, but not what the people were saying. So I don't know if they were mean to me or anything like that.
Did you already know you wanted to rap then?
Yeah, I was rapping at that time too. Like I was rapping since I'm 11, so I always had that, you know, like under here, you know, like. I was making art, but at the same time writing rap. It wasn't until I went to Barcelona and I broke up with my girlfriend at that time that I decided to go all the way with rap. So I went back home. I moved to San Juan in front of La Perla. La Perla is like a favela in Puerto Rico. It's a pretty nice favela because it's in front of the beach. It's beautiful. And it's a very alternative favela because, you know, you have like surfers, skaters, rappers, like you have everything. It's like a very alternative scene. And a lot of artists also, they moved there because my school, my art school, is just nearby La Perla. It's just there. So I moved there. And I started to rap even more. And yeah, and that's how everything happened. Like I did my album while I was like, I had a roommate that he was an artist and we used to work every night, like at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I started to write. He was painting all the time. And I remember going out in San Juan because it's very bohemian. place. Like I went out to drink, come back, write, and it was like that till I decided to show my album. So I went to an independent label that it's based on Old San Juan.
And they had Tego, right? That's why
they had Tego, and that's why I went there, because Tego Calderon, that is also a rapper, at that time he was big in Puerto Rico, and I was a fan, so I decided to go there to ask. I remember also they have cameras, like security cameras, and during the night I remember going there, rapping in front of the cameras to see if they can see me. Yeah, but I don't think so. But then I went once and I showed them my stuff. I also showed it to Sony, but they didn't listen to it. At the end, now they're my label. You know, we are partners because I own my stuff. I'm the owner of my masters. But I went there, I showed the music, and then Elias de Leon, that it was like the president of this independent label, he called me like, man, this is amazing, like this is crazy, like I like your lyrics and everything. And like a few months after, I was releasing an album, and the next year I won 3 Grammys. It was like very fast for us and for me, and yeah, I don't know if...
Tell me a little bit about balance. I know with your songs, they're very socially political, but you also have like, you know, fun, upbeat, you know, different types of songs about partying. You don't take yourself too seriously. Some political people take themselves very seriously. Why is that important to you, to balance out the social conscious stuff with also just kind of poking fun at you know?
Because as an artist, like what I learned in art school is that you have to be a reflex of the things that affect you. And you have to be honest with that and put it out. And that's what I do. Like, it's impossible to be one thing only, like only politics or only party or only sexual or only ballads. So my life is full of everything. So that's what I put out. And that's why I don't trust the artists that they just do one type of thing and one type of lyrics because it's like they're not saying the things that, you know, it's impossible to get affected unless you live in a box and that's it. But I think everyone gets affected by everything. So that's the balance that I have. My balance is organic, but also I didn't want it to be on the spot, you know, or in the place that the people, sometimes when you do social things, they just put you in that place that, oh, he's social, he's serious. So I started to use also black humor in my songs to play with it. And also I did party songs, and sometimes to balance, I did some featurings with pop artists that my fans didn't like that, but I used them, not used them, but, you know, I collaborated with them because I wanted to have that balance that for me is important, because I didn't want to be in that place either. In art school, I had that. Like with the conceptual artists, they were the conceptual artists and they were like there, and then, so you know.
Speaking of collaborations that might have thrown your fans maybe a little surprise, you collaborated with Shakira, but you did it in your, that was the one you were referring to, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. You did it in your own way, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no, like it was kind of hard because Shakira, you know, before she was blonde, she had dark hair, and she was chubbier and sexy, because chubby is sexy. And I was at her house in Bahamas. She was very nice to me too. She was very cool. And we were drinking. You know, it was like a nice moment. And I wrote a sentence that for me was very important to put there, and also for my fans. That it's like, I used to like you better when you were like black hair and chubbier and a little bit more rock.
¿Quieres decir la letra en español for those that might know?
I don't remember the line exactly in Spanish, pero era gordita. Me gustaba cuando era más gordita y medio rockerita. Con la cara redondita.
Con la cara redondita.
Yeah, at first she was like a little bit like, I don't know about that line. But then she liked it, you know, and, you know, it was cool to make fun of you. And that's what I do too. Because I have 8 brothers and they have me like all the time, like with my feet on the ground all the time. We are a huge family. So yeah.
Speak about some of the other collaborations. I know Ruben Blades is very important to you. How did you guys get close?
Yeah, Ruben Blades is, I don't know if you're familiar with Ruben Blades. He's doing now a TV show. It's not The Walking Dead, but the other one.
I don't watch TV, so I can't help you. The audience might be able to.
Yeah, one of those shows. He's an amazing writer and an amazing everything. He did everything. It's like, there's a chapter in South Park about the Simpsons and South Park, and it's like Simpsons did it like Simpsons. They already did everything. Mm-hmm. But with Ruben, it's the same. It's like every time that I want to write something, he already did it. And he's older, he's 66. He's the Master Jedi, and he writes. I don't want to compare him with. I don't know if there's any artist that I compare him with. Maybe Bob Dylan, but his narrative is very clear and like you can. It's poetic, but it's very accessible. That's what I'm saying, and that's what I like about when I write, I want to be accessible to, not easy. And not too conceptual, and not too poetic, but it's still poetic. So it's very difficult to write that way. For me, it's my goal to do it in a way that the cool or the intelligence can relate and say, "Oh, this is nice," but also everyone can understand it. So he writes that way, and that's why I write the way I write.
I always say that about Tupac, too. I think a lot of people don't regard him as one of the greatest lyricists because he doesn't use as many words. It's like a painter. Sometimes you can throw 2 or 3 strokes and you can tell an amazing picture, and sometimes, there's people who throw all and they can tell an amazing picture. I feel like with you are poetic. I know you try to play that down, but you're very visual. Your words, as soon as I hear them, I hear Latino America, I could picture everything that you're saying. Yeah. Talk a little bit about your creative process. Do you think about the topics first or the lyrics, or are you inspired by the instrumentation of the song?
First, for me, it's a concept. And that's how I learned in art school to work. And I think in music school, they don't teach that. Like the art for me goes here, and then you have music, literature, all the other branches. Fine art branches. So for me, I try to create a first concept like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I don't have a certain way. Like I have different ways. Sometimes I just start writing. If I'm drunk and I go to my apartment and I want to write, I just start writing. Then I see it the next day. It sucks, but some of the lines maybe they can work. So sometimes I work that way. Sometimes I work with the concept already. Form. So there are several ways. Sometimes there is a music that I like and I just listen to that, and that inspires me to write, to start writing. And what I love about the process also is the editing. Like editing is great because you can change so much, and I play with words, and I'm very anal with where I put certain words, and not only with the rhyming, but with the meaning. For me, the meaning is more important than the rhyming. Even though I always rhyme, I try to rhyme with the last 4 letters, like rhyming all the time. Yep. Rima consonante, I don't know how to say it in English, like rhyme, consonant, rhyming. Yep. Yeah. So all the time, I don't use assonante, like I don't like it. So, yeah. It's refreshing to hear. I feel like Jay-Z kind of started this trend of, I go in the booth and I don't write and just whatever comes out. And that's great, but it's refreshing to hear artists who are like, I write and then I rewrite and then I write some more and then I move things around. There's different creative processes, but I think as an MC, it's powerful to be able to go back and say, hey, I got inspired, and the next day you move things around. It's kind of like a puzzle. Yeah, it's good to be prepared and to write and to take your time. Like I like improvisation, and because it's an art. But when you improvise, you say whatever. And when I'm right, I don't say whatever. I want to make sure that what I'm saying, everything is important, every sentence, and I try to have a punchline. I don't know if you guys know what it's a punchline, right, in rap. So I try to have every 2 sentences or the second sentence, always a punchline, always. So you never get bored.